Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, October 12th, and this is Morning Market Movers, where we look at hot spots in the markets for today and for potential trading opportunities today. My name is Todd Rich. I am with Nadex. I would normally be joined by Brian Caprice from Keep Trading Simple. However, as a new father, Brian had a long night last night. So he won't be joining this morning, but he will, at least we hope, we anticipate, we'll be doing the analysis, the full blown analysis today at noon. I'll drop that link into the chat shortly. And hopefully, if you haven't registered, you can register and join Brian in a few hours where he'll go through all of the markets. Hopefully, assuming he gets himself all sorted out. With that, before I jump into some analysis for this morning, I do need to share this disclaimer that trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone. That any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything I say as a buy or sell recommendation. I am doing this for your education purposes. So, what are we looking at today? Let's jump over and really the story of the day is, and this is what everyone's talking about, is they're talking about inflation and they're talking about specifically energy inflation. And that is actually causing some concerns in the markets. Now, what's really rather interesting is we are seeing energy prices, particularly oil, I mean, trading above $80 a barrel. Oil is definitely a supply demand driven product, and one, we're looking at coming out of an economic challenge out of the pandemic, and you would think that as demand ramped up, that's what would be driving these prices higher. But oddly, it's not so much of a demand issue at the moment, although there is demand. It's supply challenges, but the supply challenges are not the same regionally. Here in the United States, we know that we have a surplus of refined oil, of gasoline. We actually saw that last week. We've got uh, our reserves in gasoline went up. We've got excess reserves in crude oil. Right, we were expecting to be depleting or drawing down some of those reserves. We're adding to them. So in the United States, it's not nearly as challenging as it is in other parts of the globe. For instance, the UK, where people are starting to hoard gasoline, it's a real challenge. So regionally, you've got different places around the globe battling for the resources. In the United States, we don't see it, but that's why we're seeing a bit of a swing back and forth, a battle in the price of oil, but it still continues to trend higher. I am going to look at the oil chart here. And we can see, I mean, just in the last couple of weeks, oil has gone, I mean, it was down at $73 a barrel at the beginning of October, and we topped out up at 82. Now, these Fibonacci levels are becoming rather interesting. So, and if you know what, if you don't know how I drew these, I am going to draw these on here for you. Let's delete this. I am going to draw them on you. This is the Nadex chart. All right. I am in a 15-minute chart, just so you're aware. I am going to go ahead and grab Fibonacci retracement. And because we're in an uptrend, I'm going to start at the bottom left-hand corner at the lowest point. I'm going to click once. I'm going to take it up to the highest point, which we saw yesterday, right? We know that it topped out at 82 in the evening hours yesterday. I'm going to click there and then just drag to the right. Now, what are we seeing on the fib levels? We do know that um, each one of these points becomes something to look at when it comes to buyers or sellers stepping in. Now, we did retrace down, and this 24% retracement level has actually become an interesting level. It was resistance on the way up. We could see that we resisted, and then it actually, when it pulled back, and this is something that Brian teaches, and I am now going to zoom in a little bit and make this a little bit bigger so we can see it a little bit easier. We have tested this level one, two, and we are just testing it for the third time right now. Now, Depending upon what happens when the retail trader steps in, this may hold. We may see it trend up higher, and it's trying to hold here. But what we do know is that if it were to come back down to this 24% level, which is right at also, it's right at $80 a barrel. It's one of those zero numbers. If we were to come down and test it a fourth time, it's when we might see it break. If it were to break through there, I would then expect to be looking for oil to drop, and let's back this chart back up, down to the 38% level where we have come before. All right. Right. And we know that it actually had tested it a couple times once it made it through there. So keep an eye on oil this morning. It is trying, it was down a bit. We are bouncing off right now as the European traders step off and the US traders start stepping in or on. It is testing that 80 level. If we end up coming back here later in the day, look for that. Oil is definitely one of the hot spots in the markets today, and it's what everyone is talking about. And they're really, and it's really in the context of inflation. I know we. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna use the word Brian's transitory inflation. It's not been particularly transitory in oil, has it? Now, where it has been a little transitory and we're seeing a little bit of relief. Oddly enough, while oil is doing that, natural gas, another hot spot in the market, and this a little bit different story. As we can see, we go back and take a look at what's gone on over the month of October. Natural gas absolutely took off, much to Brian's chagrin, and it did top out above 640 per million BTU, right? The British thermal units. And it has retraced, right? Oil has just continued to creep higher. Natural gas actually came all the way back down to where it was. It consolidated a bit and it has since broken through. So natural gas's wild ride, I don't want to say it's over, but it certainly has abated significantly. Drop. I mean, that's a pretty large drop in natural gas after a pretty significant run up. We are testing. We tested a level that we had seen back in September, and we're actually breaking through that. And now look out down below. Watch what nat gas does. We could talk about why nat gas did this crazy ride. But there is a level down at 5. If we continue on this trend, this is a level that we had seen, and I'm probably gonna have to go back to a 30-minute chart to find it. Yeah, this is a level that we haven't seen uh, since back in September. So these are the hot spots in the markets today. This is where I would say keep an eye out. Everyone's talking about inflation. Everyone's talking about inflation in the energy sector. Uh, Oil pulling back a little bit, nat gas pulling back a lot. The other thing I wanted to take a look at is and are the equities. In fact, let me take a quick peek at what's going on in equities. I just want to see, we are battling. We've struggled for the last few days. I'm not sure there's any. We're sort of in no man's land when it comes to equities. Let's just take a peek at the Nasdaq first. I want to jump over here to the Nasdaq chart. Uh, we are we are kind of consolidating in, aren't we? We are in a bit of a downtrend. We can clearly see that, but we're also sort of forming a pennant formation. A bit in no man's land, waiting to see what the retail trader thinks. I know the Dow has had 3 losing days in a row. I know we're trying to battle that off. And yeah, I mean, the Dow actually doesn't look nearly as bad as the Nasdaq. The Dow actually seems to be chopping sideways just in a slightly shorter range. I mean, if you want to take a peek, we can actually show, if you looked at uh, the channel that the Dow was trading in, and now we can actually take a look at the channel that it's trading in the last few days. You can clearly see, give me 1 second there. There we go. You can clearly see that the channel is a little shorter now. Not as wild a rides. I think people are waiting to see how everything's going to manifest. Know that we are entering into earnings season. So as we go into earnings season and we are facing some headwinds a little bit, I think people are waiting to see what some of this what it looks like in corporate America and how it's impacting profits before they really start taking a position on some of these indices. Now, what do we have coming up later this week? We really have no news today. Let me bring up this. Today, there really isn't a lot of news to talk about. However, tomorrow, we've got quite a bit going on. So hopefully, we'll have Brian back and we'll be able to take a peek at what we've got going on in the markets for tomorrow. Because, first of all, we are going to be seeing some numbers at night that are going to be giving us a glimpse into what's going on in the global economy. Inflation in Germany, so we'll get an idea into the Eurozone. The UK coming out with their GDP, so very early in the morning here. I mean, I'm on GMT, so this will be 2 in the morning uh, Eastern. Some big numbers coming out of Germany and the UK. So we'll have to digest those when we get up in the morning and we take a peek. Now, right before Brian and I go on tomorrow morning, we've got the inflation numbers for the US. So we will also be talking about that. Know that we've got some interesting numbers to be looking at. Where are we seeing core inflation? What are we seeing the inflation rate at? Are things going to change? And we will at least get a glimpse of what was going on in September. So tomorrow morning, again, big numbers coming out tomorrow morning. And then the FOC minutes will get released in the afternoon. Now, these are the minutes from the last meeting, but it'll give us a greater glimpse into how some of the individual participants on the Fed committee are, what they're thinking when it comes to scaling back on asset purchases. So, and then on interest rate decisions on when they want to start raising interest rates. But again, we're seeing this inflation. We know we're heading into headwinds with the economy. Have things changed? And that'll give us some interesting perspective. And then at night, you've got even unemployment in Australia. So tomorrow, fairly significant news globally. I mean, we're hitting every single region: Europe, the UK, the United States, and Australia, all with big numbers tomorrow. It'll be an entertaining day in the market. As I mentioned, Brian hopefully should be back for the. Let me copy this for our noon session today. So in 3 hours, a full blown analysis. Hopefully, by then he will have gotten a little bit of rest and he will be well prepared to run down. And we'll get a glimpse at also of what's happened as the markets opened and how people are reacting to the energy prices and the dichotomy between oil still heading higher and nat gas completely pulling back, and how that might be impactful to the equities. Not a whole lot going on in the FX space at the moment. Gold and silver also sort of just trending sideways. So really the hot spots in the markets and what everyone's talking about today is inflation, and specifically energy inflation. With that, I do want to say that Brian will be here at where am I? There we go. I got to find all my stuff. With that, Brian should be back at noon today. Hopefully, we'll have him there. He'll do a full blown analysis. Any questions for Nadex, please email us customer service at nadex.com. I think I've already recapped what we've got. Please, if you have not registered for today's session, go ahead and click that link to register. And after that, Brian and I should catch you tomorrow morning, and we should be able to prepare you for a rather interesting day, assimilating whatever information we got overnight between Europe and Germany and getting ready for the U.S. trading day. Good luck in the markets, everyone. We'll catch you later.